Dr. Zethinar had faced down charging Krelvax beasts with tusks longer than a transport shuttle. She had performed emergency surgery on a wounded Thorian wardrake while it was still partially conscious and thrashing. She had even extracted venom sacs from a Pleiadian shadow serpent, a creature whose mere gaze could paralyze lesser species. In her 300 cycles as the Galactic Veterinary Institute's most decorated xenobiologist, nothing had ever truly frightened her, until today. The human had walked into her clinic on Station Prometheus 7 with something cradled in his arms, wrapped in what appeared to be a soft blue textile. The station's atmosphere processors hummed in the background as Zethinar's 4 eye stalks focused on the bundle. Her carapace instinctively hardened, a biological response to perceived danger that she couldn't control. "Dr. Zethinar?" the human asked, his voice carrying that strange melodic quality humans possessed. "I was told you're the best vet in this sector." She forced her mandibles into a neutral position, trying to maintain professional composure. "That is correct. I am licensed to treat over 40,000 known species across the Federation. What seems to be the problem with your companion?" The human smiled, another peculiar behavior that showed his teeth. Among most species, baring teeth signaled aggression, but humans did it when they were pleased. It took decades for most xenobiologists to adjust to this unsettling quirk. "Well, I just picked him up from a breeder on Earth before my deployment," the human explained, adjusting the bundle in his arms. "I wanted to make sure he's healthy before we head out to the frontier colonies. Full checkup, vaccinations, the works." Zethinar's medical scanner was already active, taking preliminary readings from a safe distance of 3 meters. What she saw made her respiratory spiracles contract in alarm. The life form registered as a predator, a carnivore. Its jaw structure suggested bite force ratios that could crush bone. Its developing muscle density indicated it would grow to considerable size and strength. "A predator species," she said carefully, her translator converting her chittering language into standard galactic. "From Earth." Every xenobiologist in the galaxy knew about Earth's predators. The planet was a death world, classification 9 out of 10 on the hazard scale. It had spawned the most terrifying collection of apex predators in known space. The humans themselves were endurance hunters who had evolved from persistent predators that literally chased their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Their planet was home to creatures that could shred steel with their claws, inject neurotoxins that killed in seconds, or swallow prey whole. And this human had brought one of those creatures into her clinic. "Could you please place your companion on the examination platform?" Zethinar asked, proud that her voice translator only showed minimal stress harmonics. "Sure thing, Doc." The human moved forward and gently unwrapped the bundle. What emerged made Zethinar take an involuntary step backward, her support legs trembling. It was small, perhaps the length of a human forearm, covered in golden brown fur. Its eyes were disproportionately large and dark. Its paws seemed oversized for its body, suggesting this was a juvenile that would grow significantly larger. The creature looked around the clinic with obvious curiosity, its pink tongue lolling out between rows of developing teeth. Then it made a sound, a high-pitched vocalization that her translator interpreted as playful excitement. "It's active," Zethinar managed to say. "Oh yeah, he's got tons of energy," the human laughed, that strange barking sound humans made when amused. "Haven't picked a name yet. Been calling him Buddy for now." The creature's tail began to move in rapid, sweeping motions. Zethinar's database identified this as a communication signal, but she wasn't sure if it indicated imminent attack or some other behavioral state. The creature suddenly bounded toward her on unsteady legs, and she activated her emergency defense shield, a shimmering barrier designed to stop charging megafauna. The creature bounced off the shield and tumbled backward, letting out a small yelping sound. Zethinar's cardiac chambers seized with horror. Had she injured a patient, the Veterinary Institute would revoke her license. She would be banned from practice across all Federation worlds. But the human just chuckled, that infuriating sound they made. He scooped up the creature, which immediately began attempting to lick his face with its tongue, tail still wagging frantically. "It's okay, Doc," the human said, his eyes crinkling in what her cultural database labeled as genuine amusement. "It's just a puppy." "A puppy?" Zethinar's translator struggled with the term, cross-referencing human databases. "Yeah, a dog, Canis familiaris. This little guy is a golden retriever. He's only 8 weeks old." 8 weeks. Zethinar's primary and secondary brains processed this information simultaneously. The creature was an infant, and the human was treating this apex predator spawn as if it were harmless. "Human Marcus," she began, using his species designation and name combination as protocol demanded, "my scans indicate this creature possesses jaws capable of generating over 150 kilograms of bite force at maturity. Its claws can tear through synthetic fabrics. Its sense of smell is 10,000 times more sensitive than yours, making it an exceptional tracker. This is a predator of significant capability." Marcus looked down at the puppy in his arms. The creature was now gnawing on his thumb with its tiny teeth, making small growling sounds that her audio receptors registered as play aggression. "Well, yeah," Marcus agreed. "Dogs were originally wolves. We domesticated them about 15,000 years ago. They're hunters by nature." 15,000 cycles of domestication. Zethinar's academic brain found this fascinating, despite her terror. Humans had taken one of their planet's predators and formed a symbiotic relationship with it spanning millennia. "And you trust this creature?" she asked. "Near your offspring? In your dwelling spaces?" Marcus's face softened into an expression her database labeled affection. "Doc, dogs are called man's best friend for a reason. They're loyal, loving, and protective. This little guy will be my companion for the next 10 to 15 years. He'll probably sleep in my bed, play with any kids I might have someday, and be a part of my family." The puppy chose that moment to yawn, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. Then it sneezed, a tiny, explosive sound, and looked confused about what had just happened to its face. Something in Zethinar's perception shifted. She watched as Marcus gently stroked the puppy's head, and the creature's eyes closed in obvious contentment. The tail wagging increased. Small, satisfied sounds emerged from its throat that her translator marked as purring equivalent for canine species. "You're telling me," Zethinar said slowly, "that humans live with these predators by choice? Not for security or hunting purposes, but for companionship?" "Absolutely. Though they do make good guard dogs too. But mostly, they're family." Zethinar deactivated her defense shield. Her scientific curiosity was beginning to override her instinctive fear. She approached cautiously, extending one of her manipulation appendages toward the puppy. The creature sniffed it with great interest, then attempted to lick the chitinous surface. "He likes you," Marcus said, grinning. The sensation was strange. The puppy's tongue was warm and wet, leaving traces of saliva on her exoskeleton. It was thoroughly unhygienic and completely at odds with proper medical protocols. Yet the creature's obvious friendliness was undeniable. "I will need to research canine anatomy," Zethinar said, pulling up database entries on her holographic display. "Their physiology is remarkably different from most species I treat." As she read, her eye stalks widened with each new piece of information. Humans had bred dogs into hundreds of varieties, from creatures small enough to fit in a pocket to beasts large enough to take down Earth's megafauna. They used them for rescue operations, therapy for psychological trauma, assistance for disabled humans, detection of explosives and narcotics, and countless other purposes. But primarily, billions of humans kept them simply as companions. This says dogs can sense human emotional states, Zethanar noted. They respond to stress, sadness, and anxiety in their human companions. That's right, Marcus confirmed. When I'm having a bad day, I guarantee this little guy will know it. He'll probably bring me one of his toys or just sit with me until I feel better. The puppy had now climbed onto Zethanar's examination table and was exploring the various medical instruments with intense curiosity. He sniffed at a laser scalpel, pawed at a tissue regenerator, and attempted to chew on a sterile sensor pad before Marcus gently redirected him. Zethanar began her examination, using her scanning equipment to check the puppy's vital signs, heart rate elevated but within normal parameters for an excited juvenile, respiratory function excellent, neural development appropriate for age, musculoskeletal structure developing properly. The creature was, by all medical standards, a healthy specimen. He'll need his vaccinations updated in 4 weeks, Zethanar said, her professional expertise taking over now that her initial fear had subsided. And I'm prescribing a dietary supplement to support proper bone development. His growth plates indicate he'll reach approximately 32 kilograms at maturity. Sounds good, Doc. Anything else I should know? Zethanar consulted her rapidly expanding knowledge of canine care. Socialization is critical during this developmental period. Exposure to various species, environments, and situations will help prevent anxiety and aggression later in life. Also, mental stimulation is essential. Dogs of this breed are intelligent and require regular cognitive challenges. Got it. Plenty of playtime and training sessions. The puppy had now rolled onto his back on the examination table, paws in the air, tongue hanging out sideways. His tail thumped against the metal surface. Zethanar's database identified this as a play solicitation posture, indicating the creature felt safe and wanted interaction. Against every instinct, Zethanar reached out and gently rubbed the puppy's exposed belly. The fur was incredibly soft, much different from the coarse hair of most mammalian species she'd treated. The puppy's back leg began to kick in response to the stimulation. An involuntary reflex her scans indicated was called a scratch reflex. I think you've made a friend, Marcus observed. Over the next hour, Zethanar conducted a thorough examination. She checked the puppy's eyes, ears, teeth, and paws. She verified his microchip identification data. She administered the necessary vaccinations, while Marcus held the puppy steady, whispering soothing words in that melodic human way. The puppy yelped once at the injection, but quickly forgot about it when Marcus produced a small treat from his pocket. Food-based positive reinforcement, Zethanar noted approvingly. An excellent training technique. As the appointment concluded, Zethanar found herself experiencing an unfamiliar emotion. Her species didn't typically form attachments to other life forms outside their hive clusters, yet she felt a strange reluctance to see the puppy leave. Will you bring him back for his follow-up? She asked. Absolutely. You're the only vet in this sector who didn't panic when I mentioned I had a dog from Earth. Other veterinarians refused service? 3 of them. They took one look at my file that said I had an Earth predator and told me to take him to a military containment facility. Zethanar's mandibles clicked in what her species used to indicate embarrassment. She had almost done the same thing. Almost let her fear override her professional duty and scientific curiosity. Marcus picked up the puppy, who was now drowsy from all the excitement. The creature yawned again, snuggled against Marcus's chest, and closed his eyes. Within moments, he was asleep, tiny body rising and falling with each breath. That's another thing about puppies, Marcus said softly. They play hard and crash hard. He'll probably sleep for the next 2 hours. Zethanar watched them prepare to leave, the feared predator of Earth, nestled trustingly in his human companion's arms. The human one of the galaxy's most adaptable and dangerous species, treating this creature with gentleness and obvious love. "Human Marcus," she called as they reached the door. "I was frightened when you first arrived. I apologize for my unprofessional reaction." Marcus turned back, that warm human smile on his face. "No worries, Doc, I get it. Humans have a reputation, and so do our animals. But that's the thing about us. We don't see something dangerous and run away. We see something dangerous and think, I bet I could be friends with that." After they left, Zethinar stood in her quiet clinic processing the encounter. She pulled up more information about human-dog relationships, reading testimonies from humans across the galaxy. Stories of dogs saving their humans from danger, providing comfort during grief, working alongside them in the harshest environments. Stories of humans traveling across star systems to be reunited with their canine companions, refusing to leave them behind even when offered significant rewards. The bond between humans and dogs, she realized, was more than just domestication. It was partnership. It was loyalty that transcended species. It was the kind of connection that most species reserved only for their own kind, extended across the evolutionary divide. Her terminal chimed with a new message. It was from Marcus, sent from his shuttle already departing the station. Attached was an image file. She opened it. The puppy was awake again, sitting on the shuttle's co-pilot seat, paws on the control panel, looking out at the stars with wonder in his dark eyes. The caption read, "Buddy's first look at hyperspace. Thanks for taking care of us, Doc. See you in 4 weeks." Zethinar saved the image to her personal files. Then she did something she'd never done before in her 300 cycles of practice. She updated her clinic's species compatibility list to explicitly include Canis familiaris, with a note, "Excellent patience. Humans should be commended for their choice of companions." Perhaps, she thought, the galaxy had much to learn from humans and their puppies. About trust, about loyalty, about seeing past surface appearances to the potential for connection underneath. About how the fiercest predators could become the gentlest friends. It was, she decided, just a puppy. But it represented something much larger. The strange and wonderful way humans moved through the universe, turning dangers into companions, transforming threats into family. She began preparing for their next appointment in 4 weeks, already looking forward to seeing how much the puppy had grown. And she made a note to research something called dog toys that her scans had detected in Marcus's bag. If she was going to treat canine patients, she should probably have appropriate supplies on hand. The galaxy's hardest vet had been frozen with fear, but the human had chuckled and said it was just a puppy. And somehow that had changed everything.